And so this is me, Peter, with a little explaining. In other words, I don't even know Tennessee's record, but I don't think they're the best team. And I know that guy Levitz was a God Almighty hater when he came into the league. I don't know where he is now. Wow, Kapow is the light with T's. So, in other words, like the season is coming to getting near the end, and the light is letting the teams just keep doing good. Who I know, like QBs are. I know the God Almighty haters. I know the ones who put Jesus is God quotes on Twitter, and I know the ones who are the most disgusting of all, who put Jesus is God crosses under their lies, sin eyes. And but they don't fool me, because I know at night when they look up to the light, they cry and cry and cry and cry and cry and cry, because there's no one this stupid. Look, I have a friend who's on meds, and he calls me the other day on alcohol, and the people who he goes to, the psychiatrist, are God Almighty haters and can't admit the truth. But I talked to him, and he goes down the list of all the humanly impossible, blatant, obvious stuff. I recorded it. I'll maybe put it online tomorrow. So if that guy knows what's obvious, then everybody knows, expose what's humanly impossible. So anyways, is this the start of the meltdown? The meltdown, a nuclear meltdown. It's a meltdown, a nuclear meltdown. But it's not a nuclear meltdown. It's a one and only, all moral, all scientific evidence, all God Almighty meltdown. And so, who's the one and only prime? And so you saw that disgusting and so, I go to the light as much as you can't stand Brock KKK Purdy. We all know he's going to get hurty. So obviously, I think that Dak Prescott got to be a God Almighty lover now, because what's his name talks so good about him, Aaron Rodgers, and we know Aaron, obviously, he's talking about the barbarians. What's a bigger blessing than that? And he gives $150 million back because he wants to win points with the love, the bright and the one only way. So if God wasn't real, do you think he would be giving $150 million back? I mean, the light would have been happy with probably 50. But he really wanted to win mega, huge, gigantic. That's why the light is, watch what happens when he gets back on the field. And so then that game this week, I had a feeling that, because he also talks to Zach every day. And so if Zach wasn't a God Almighty lover now, gigantic, would Eric be talking to him every day? And so I was wondering when he was going to finally have a really good game, and then he did. So it's easy to see how the light is doing it. But the humanly impossible patience is annoying for people like me. But it is what it is. In other words, this is true, and I'll take a million godzillion lie detector tests. This last week when I go to the gym, the light will break my hip where it's broken, then fix that, and then make my leg numb, when I do a deadlift squat or a sumo squat or a stiff leg squat, and it's the worst feeling. He injects air into it's just a bad feeling, and then just turn it off and make it perfectly new. And then does a broken knee, and he calls it black bone. This knee is key. And so this guy Hill, he got some injury today, but not 100%. But if he's a God Almighty hater, which I think he is, it's going to go all the way, that filet, all the way. In other words, the light puts injuries in me in 2 seconds, all day, on and off, major injuries that, you can't even walk, you know what I mean? And then turns them on and off. So, the light's showing me, obviously, the light is just playing with humans down here for 18 years with humanly impossible, obvious stuff and humanly impossible patience, and people are still hating God's motherfucking guts for coming here with blatant, obvious scientific God evidence. So anyway, obviously, you know the 49ers are going to be done. Brock Purdy is going to get gigantic injury, and this guy's going to get a gigantic injury. And also, like I tell the light, I go, in other words, as much as, what's his name, puts Bible quotes, Russell Wilson, all over Twitter to disgrace God, the one and only scientific evidence, all moral, all common sense God. You know, he's not as despicable as this guy Tua, who puts putting the Jesus is God tattoos under your eyes to disguise, you know, to pretend that you don't understand God down here moving human skin in real time and pretend you don't believe it. You know what I mean? Believing is thinking, clicking is thinking. We all know that God is moving human skin in real time, and we all know when God does that on person's insides, no matter how much snide and pride and insane jealousy and hate, it's going to cause humanly impossible pain and humanly impossible disease, and it moves from body part to body part. And it's all common sense. In other words, those scars that the light puts under people's eyes, don't you understand the light could put that scar all over your face, every inch of your face, every inch of your arms, and the light can slow your metabolism and make you fat at the flick of a thing. But keep watching the Kardashians. Watch those Genslers toilets going to get big, just like their sisters. You'll see, because they're despicable, deplorable, horrible, and immoral. God is playing with everybody's egos, their enemies, their jealousies, their unfriendlies, the love, the loved, the love, the bright, and the one and only way is true arch enemy. So just keep watching. By the end of the year, the end of the seasons, you'll know. You know how the light is. There's so much humanly impossible patience. The light could wait till the last play of the Super Bowl and then do the immaculate interception. And how humiliating is that? How humiliating is that? Look at that little rat. Look at that little rat. And see, remember the other day, a couple games ago, Tua in like 11 seconds threw interceptions? Imagine when I play tennis, the light does a whole hour straight of me interception after interception, you know, metaphorically with tennis, where the ball pops up in the air, it goes over my head, I totally miss the ball. Like, the light could do that to these football players or baseball players or basketball players, play after play after play, like the light does to me, and I'm the lucky one. So if the light loves me that much but is willing to put me through that fucking mental hell, and I cry and scream and bite my fingers and smash myself in the head as hard as I can in frustration, and I love the light like no other. So if the light's willing to put me through that to show me what the light can do, then imagine what the light could do to the people that he hates, putting tattoos under their eyes and pretending that a man named Jesus that never lived, which is a cartoon, is the one and only God Almighty. And there is evidence, like Bill Maher was talking about, and you almost know, that there was like 5 other Jesus stories with the same December 25th date of birth. It's Jesus story. They just changed the name from Romulus and Remus to Jesus, to Jesus, to Jesus. And how come Jesus can't stop the one and only, all moral, all blatant, obvious, scientific evidence cop at the top, the one and only God Almighty, the one and only forevermore, down here with blatant, obvious, humanly impossible scores on a blatant, obvious, humanly impossible scientific evidence, God Almighty Tor, God Almighty Tor, God Almighty Tor. Is this a start of a meltdown? A meltdown? A nuclear meltdown? Put the G down. Down. Meltdown. So just keep watching, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls around the world. Watch how the one and only, all moral, all common sense, God Almighty teases for all the people around the world. And it's so funny and so stunny and so more than any punny. And so guess what? We got a runny. What's a temper? What's a temper? What's a temper tantrum? What's a tantrum, trum, and a trum, and a dum, drum, dubba 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 drum, double drum, double drum, double drum, dum 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 dum.